Premier, training centres led by Aboriginal people were an overwhelming success. So why don't you look at that in detail and consider re-establishing those as effective training centres for Aboriginal people?
Madam Speaker, can I thank the Liberal Party for the question? I'm unaware as to what you're referring to.
I spoke about it in the debate yesterday.
I'm unaware as to what you're referring to.
Premier, in 2010, the Training Together, Working Together task force, chaired by Dr Sue Gordon and Mr Keith Spence, recommended the establishment of Aboriginal workforce development centres, which saw centres established in Broome, Geraldton, Kalgoorlie, Bunbury and Perth, training thousands of Aboriginal adults and youth and giving them meaningful employment. In 2017, your government closed all of these centres as a cost-saving measure. My question is, one, given your statement this afternoon that education and training is a birthright, do you now admit that closing these centres was a mistake? And two, will you commit to re-establishing these centres?
Very good question.
Yeah, look, Madam Speaker, can I thank the Liberal Party for the question? I'm unaware as to what you're referring to.
I spoke about it in the debate yesterday.
I'm unaware as to what you're referring to, but I can tell you this: there's more Aboriginal people in training and in employment than ever before. We have the 3% policy for government contracts, which for Aboriginal-owned businesses, which employs Aboriginal people. We have Aboriginal traineeships across government. We have the program for rangers across our conservation estate. You might note we're expanding our conservation estate by 20%. Not highly commented on. Biggest expansion in conservation and national parks in the history of Western Australia. And there's literally hundreds of Aboriginal trainees that are being employed to manage these areas across Western Australia. And I meet them when I go out there. Wonderful achievement. And across industry, we work with particularly the mining industry for Aboriginal trainees and apprenticeships extensively. And when I go to the northwest, for instance, Headland, Karratha, Newman, you'll meet many people engaged in industry. I remember back in the early 2000s when the Gallop government was elected, there was no Aboriginal people working in the mining industry. And I remember the then Premier Jeff Gallop and the then Education and Training Minister Alan Carpenter having roundtables with the industry and saying, Aboriginal people live here, you need to employ them. And clearly that there has been a significant improvement there. Now, when we came to government, we set up the Jobs and Skills Centres. Now, it may well be the role of what you're talking about was incorporated into the Jobs and Skills Centres. And we have 13 or 14 of those across Western Australia, one-stop shops for everyone to go in and get access to services. Now, if you had given me some notice, I might have been able to give you a more direct answer on that. But it may well be that the Jobs and Skills Centres, which are incredibly effective, both in the city and the regions, for connecting young people and employers and young people in training with personalised service, is undertaking those roles now.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary.
Premier, training centres led by Aboriginal people were an overwhelming success. So why don't you look at that in detail and consider re-establishing those as effective training centres for Aboriginal people?
Again, I'm unaware as to what you're referring to, but I just remind you, we have more people in training, more Aboriginal people in training, more Aboriginal people in apprenticeships and traineeships, more Aboriginal people enrolled in TAFE.
Sure, that's true.
We have more Aboriginal people employed. We put a huge effort across government into these initiatives. We have the Jobs and Skills Centre. We actually dropped the fees for everyone, including Aboriginal people in our TAFE colleges, because they are out of reach when you're in government. And the Jobs and Skills Centres are there to assist everyone. Now, I'm unaware as to what you're referring to. I will have a look at it because I have a feeling that, as usual, you are misrepresenting.
Yeah.